Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome back, or at least, well, I'm back after a little bit of a break. Thank you so much for giving me that time. Got a lot of work done, but you know what? I'm thrilled to be back doing live streams with the community. So, hello. Today, I'm super excited because we will be checking back in with an artist that I love, an artist who works in Durham Region, an expressive art therapist as well, someone who cares very passionately about their community and has worked tirelessly for years and years now to recognize and validate and lift people up wherever they are, to help them tell their stories through whatever form of art they wish to express it in. And that is the one and only Georgia Fullerton. You can follow her here on Instagram at Create My Art Story. Yeah, just an amazing human being. And we chatted with Georgia about 5 months ago, around the beginning of when all this started. And we weren't able to capture it. So we thought, you know what, it's a good time to check back in, connect once more, and see what they're up to and what insights they might have for all of us creatives and makers in the community today. So thank you and welcome. Hello to everyone who's joining the live stream. This is amazing. Wow, it's great to see you. It's great to see you even virtually this way. So thank you. Why don't I invite Georgia onto this and we can get going with this chat. Okay. Let's see. Live. I don't know why I'm singing, folks. It just happens sometimes. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Hi, Georgia.
Here I am. Hi, Mary.
Oh, hello. It's so good to see your face. How are you?
I'm hanging in. I'm taking in the day for what it is. Lovely to be here as usual and see all the colors behind you, too. That's so nice with my gray.
Great works. Great works.
Yeah. Can you hear me okay? I have this on my phone and
I can hear you. How about all the folks out there? Can you hear Georgia too? I'm sure they can. But let me know if you're having trouble, folks, okay?
yeah, please.
So we interviewed you, I guess, almost 5 months ago now.
Yeah.
That was early days when everything had kind of locked down and we were looking for ways to connect with community and help keep one another's spirits uplifted.
Yes.
How have things been with you since then?
Huge shift, just like what everyone else is going through. Big, big shift.
Yeah.
Some obviously unplanned and some planned. So for me, the things that are heightened for me is actually my need to help other people's need to have my support. And so even though we're inside or limited to where we can go, I am reaching out more than I have prior to the 5 months ago when you and I first spoke.
Yeah. Well, for folks who might not know you, why don't you, and there might be new folks joining us in the live stream today, can you give them basically an introduction of yourself, what you do, who you are, the things you love,
Okay, good. I will. Georgia Fullerton. I am the founder of a few things, but how I'm putting it today is I'm the founder of Create My Art Story, which is it's a private membership group, and in it I try to help professional women or men create a life by their own design and find artistic ways to clarify their own self-expression. And in doing that, they can connect to the people, the places, the things that bring them abundance, that bring them joy. But overall and underneath all of that, Georgia Fullerton is a pretty compassionate person. I have been involved in the arts since probably birth or prior. Hailing from Jamaica, but grew up in Alberta, so I am very much Canadianized. One of two Black families born to educator parents who believed in the arts and encouraged all four of us, me and my three siblings, all along the way. So I've forged my way through print industry, everything from apparel print to digital print, and then into the art world and community arts and getting involved in therapeutic arts, just like you, Mary, among so many other things. And it's amazing how life leaves clues. We come straight back around to working in a digital arena, but using the arts. So now you're up to date.
Thank you. And there you have that. For folks who are maybe meeting Georgia for the first time, that even that is just a small slice of everything Georgia is. So
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, that's part of it. I think I've said before when chatting with people, like one of the first teachings I received from someone I loved was that the arts is not a narrow path. So regardless of how you think you might be entering into it as an amateur, a professional, a teacher, a therapist, a helper, whatever it might be, we end up exploring so many different aspects through that creative process. Has there been one thing over the last 5 months that you've kind of taken away from everything that we've experienced so far that maybe you wouldn't have received it unless we'd had this this experience, or even sort of the push towards working with technology?
Yes, yes. Yeah, that is right in the wheelhouse of what I was going to start with. I mean, there's a number of layers, right, over the past 5 months that I've immersed myself in or encountered. The technology part of it, though, how I look at that is this time, and I'll call it a reset, is a time for everyone to kind of reassess or reflect on what is absolutely necessary, what can they absolutely live without, and what are the needs that are immediate, right? So there's this idea of accepting things and then having to change your attachment to them. So I look at the digital world as that. I detach from the digital world. Many of the things that I was doing or am doing still involve technology, but now we have to look at that as something that is a need, that's going to fill a need. So overall, that's the biggest impact that the last 5 months has had on me. Oh gosh, I hope this phone doesn't die. Phone.
Do you want to plug it in?
No, I had it plugged in before, but it's kind of propped in a way where I can't actually charge at the same time. So let's work on the 60% that it's at. But no, honestly, Mary, it's really been about re-looking at yourself, re-looking at the things in your life, re-looking at the people that you communicate and connect with. And really, I just know that I'll stay on one particular path, and that's the path of the arts. I'm so happy you opened with saying it may be a narrow path, but there are so many entryways, right? There's so many entryways into this, and that's what I try to share with people, that even though you may have neglected the arts for years, or the last time was in kindergarten, now is the time that you need to explore it for so many reasons.
Yeah. I love that approach as well. Just what you just said there about even if the last time you expressed yourself creatively was in kindergarten, which for a lot of folks out there, it might have been, right? Like even having the opportunity to revisit that and to question, well, what did I enjoy about that? What happens if I even start there where I left off?
Yeah, or even another question to embellish that one would be, what is creativity now? Is it the same thing? Is it, because in kindergarten we had a certain view of art, right? Now maybe we've changed art to involve creativity, just so that people can see the universality that it actually has within all of us, right? So
and that's an interesting point too, that what creativity means to each of us, it's very, very much informed by the people who introduce it to us, or the first people who model creativity to us. So like if it's your parents, that's one thing. If it's culture, that's another. If it's some strange person with a very restricted view of what it means to be an artist, that's something else altogether.
Serious. Yeah.
Is that something that you find you're working with people continually, like just going back to that point and reevaluating what their entry point was?
Yes, because this time has really forced a lot of people to look at themselves differently and who and how they came up, you know. So if you want to talk about a reset, this might be the perfect time to reset some of your core values, you know, because I find that that's, let me just, and I think I was talking to you about this earlier. You know, if I throw out some words like George Floyd or anti-racism or feminism, or like there's so many other words that I could throw out there, isolate, create, all of these words, if I throw them out there, what sticks for me right now, especially being in the clinic, is that there is a heightened awareness with people of color, and in whatever acronym you want to give it, BIPOC, ACB, whatever it is. But I'll just say for Black women, Black men, from my experience, Black women have been reevaluating and re-looking at where they got validation from in their past and through their culture and how their family came up, and seeking out support and help. And so I've had literally in the last, I would say 3 to 4 weeks, an additional 5 or 6 who identify as Black women coming for the support of, I need to relook at how I'm being treated, or how I view myself. What do my emotions mean? Yeah. So for me, that stuff comes back based on my work right now. And if we're gonna, sorry, I keep tapping my phone because it's dulling. I bring that up because it's a perfect opportunity to bring the arts, to infuse the arts into working with people who are seeking help, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about that, about the work, the kind of work you're seeing, the kind of calling you're seeing occur these days? Can you go into a little more detail about that?
Yeah. You know, at the top of the language that I speak in this world of therapeutic arts is, it's always anxiety, right? It's like something that is just seems to be a mainstay. So in light of COVID, what I'm finding is a lot more people who are suffering from anxiety. They're not sure how to be effective in this climate, you know. So they're really looking for alternate ways to cope with what they're experiencing. And what I see most of the time, like, it's funny because there's actually half and half, where a lot of people are looking for an alternate way and they're very excited to do that. Like when I say alternate, I mean using the arts to heal. And then there are other people who want the evidence-based side of things and feel comfortable with that, but are still curious about something else. Yeah. So some of the young people that I work with, they're really having issues with not being able to see their friends, only virtually. And right now, there's a whole different stress level around, do I go back to school in person? Do I just do online? Yeah. You know, and I could just keep going down the rabbit hole, because then it extends to the parents and how they are going to navigate their kid getting up at a regular school time but working at home.
Yeah.
So I have no idea if I just answered your question, but
well, I think one of the things you've highlighted there again is that sense of there's so much happening right now that we can't control. And maybe, I mean, maybe it's highlighted that that's always been the case to a certain extent. Like it's that timing you spoke of, that, you know, becoming aware and resetting is perhaps just evaluating what do we have, what can we manage, and what, you know, and what can we work with to have the kind of life we want to have the kind of day or moment that we want to, let alone life.
Exactly.
Because things fluctuate, things are shifting. And, you know, we've seen those shifts in the last few months. There's been horrible things. There's been wonderful things. There's been things happening that need to happen.
Yes.
And so much of that comes back to our ability to be present and perhaps, I don't know, I'd be interested to know what you think about this, to just be present and with one another, to listen and receive one another.
I'm gonna tell you what I think, because as soon as you said that, the together part, I thought about a little impromptu episode I had with my good friend Paul Paget, and we we've had a couple sessions painting in my garage, painting out some frustration or whatever. But he and I back in, gosh, when was it? I think it was May-ish. So I'm 15 minutes from the lake, and he says, "Come on, I got this old closet door. Let's go out. Let's paint." So we took stuff out, and as we're going, we're thinking, what does this mean? Because we're going to remain socially distant.
Mm-hmm.
Decided to theme it. We painted this long board. It's beautiful. We decided to theme it together and apart, or unite apart, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is what's so hard. I mean, what you're asking is, how do we accept that change, and still carry on? It's a difficult thing, especially for someone who works in the arts and has to move to a platform that is so distancing. But even in the distancing, there's things that can be given meaning. Actually, that's one of the things as an expressive arts therapist, that's something that we try and teach, is the value in distancing, not just physically, but within yourself, emotionally distancing yourself. If you have something that you've created that's giving you a certain amount of stress or whatever it is, imagine this isn't a beautiful singing bowl, but it's something that you've been discussing or going over, ruminating about here in this COVID time. How am I going to improve my relationship with who's in the house with me? How am I going to relate to my friends at school? You need to be able to create something outside of yourself and distance yourself enough so that you can actually hear what it's saying or see what it's showing you, right? And in that, what else do you get? You might get some kind of self-soothing. You might find another way to deal with the atmosphere, the environment, the way it is. And that's how I look at it. We're together but apart. We have to learn adaptation. We have to learn how to flex it and do that. Yeah. So.
And with that, there does come with a little bit of distance, being able to step back a little bit.
Absolutely.
I feel like, I mean, maybe this is just speaking for myself, but I can see the options a little more clearly. I can make choices a little more effectively. I can choose when to engage, when I need to withdraw.
True.
And just appreciate moments. I think for me, I don't know about anyone else out there, but I've had a sudden, I don't know, I feel like I'm appreciating things. Maybe more isn't the right word, but differently than I was before. That piece about meaning that you were bringing up, like that's such an important thing for me. And one of my other teachers was also, I love how she described human beings, that we are meaning-making machines.
Meaning-making, yes.
Meaning-making. So we're always looking for that meaning, and we will make it, like, in the absence of anything to guide us, then it's up to us. So what do we do with this time? What do we do with this moment?
Right. Yeah. And this is actually the ideal example or setting or scenario that should be brought to the surface, Yeah. And the value of it. What do you value now? There's so much of the unknown that's out there. But I do like what you said about not, and you're seeing this now, because if you're on a Zoom call with dozens of people, you can choose whether or not you want to share your video or your voice. And it's a certain amount of freedom, differently, a certain amount of power also, and of course, choice, the ability to make choices. I think about, people right now who are rethinking their career path because of everything. For me, I know that I've always remained open. I know what I like. I like the arts. I like to be doing things that can help people see themselves differently, and very much what you do. And so I do my best to stay connected in my way. And that there's a few things coming up for me that are very likely going to put me out there some more. But I can't be negative. I can't be negative because I'm in a position where I need positivity from myself and those people that I'm connecting to, really.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Is there one thing in particular that you find helps you stay in touch with that positivity, especially particularly when things get hard, or when you're seeing or experiencing things in the world that are heartbreaking, or, you know?
It may sound even cliche, but if I don't connect with my family, I just think about them. I use a lot of visualization and best case scenario, or in other words, a term that we use in cognitive behavior therapy is alternate thought, because in most cases when we feel low and negative, it starts with something that we thought, something that even passed through our minds so quickly we didn't notice it, but what happened was something emotionally or physically. So I try to use some visualization. I try to change my thought. That's helpful to me. There's a lot of pain and anger and sorrow in the world, and each person can only do what their heart tells them to do. I mean, your mind may tell you something completely different. So I try to approach from a heart-based, with a heart-based approach in my own life, with my daughter and colleagues and changes that are coming. You and I both do things that are like, I mean, this morning sometimes I just have some artwork in front of me that, I don't know if you can see that very well,
Oh,
that
wow.
Fits my mood or changes it, and I just have it in front of me maybe, and it might give me a message in the day. Before you and I came on, I decided I was just going to doodle something, and it's nothing big, it's just scribbles, but anything that is tactile helps me. Any way I can offer my time to people and it doesn't, exhaust me, I'm there, and this is what I'm doing. Yeah.
You're fabulous.
Thank you. And learning to say thank you instead of just saying I should be this way, I should, because we all do that, right? And I mean, right now is a great time to be second guessing yourself. You're not sure which direction to go in some cases. Like for you, I mean, and then this connection of people over time is good to maintain, because you fed me with something that was exciting to me, and I fed you back. I'm feeding you back with something now, and that's just how we should carry on. Like really, that's how we should carry on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know I love when I see opportunities to connect people with things or resources or other people that they'll enjoy or that will enjoy them. I think sometimes within the arts, because especially in Canada, because I think and this is a generalization, but I think there tends to be this sense of and maybe a reality to a certain extent of lack, like there's not enough for every.
Yes. Yes.
And sometimes that can be something that kind of makes us afraid of one another and pits artists against artists, whatever expressive modality you work within or do. But I think the other side of me, the heart part of me that wins out time and
Yes.
time is that, well, this makes me happier to connect, this person with this opportunity, or to say, hey, there's this grant out there, you should go for it, or there's a
Yes.
job. I'm not going to be any good at it, but I know you'll be amazing. Like, lift one another up in those ways is.
Yeah. That's a great thing to bring up too, because that is something that I've noticed over this time since March. And I'll give you a super applicable example, because, and I don't want to get beat on for this, but my limited experience in the area of the creative arts therapy, so specifically those who study art therapy differently from those who study expressive arts therapy, you know, yeah, there's been that kind of, well, we have more of this and you have more of that. There's been that, right?
I
And at the
know.
end of the day, yeah, it's under the same umbrella of we're all creative arts therapies. But I can imagine, or I would question now, how how has this brought even practitioners together? Actually, I shouldn't question it, because I have my own informed experience based on that. And even the fact that there is a lack of therapists of color working as, qualified psychotherapists. Not that that's the be all end all. Many of us have skills beyond or within the scope of those colleges. But yeah, the simple fact that there are not as many. Facebook groups have popped up now. Black Therapists of Canada is one. And there's a directory too. And like I said, that's actually how I got those additional clients. So there's a way that we can fuse together what we know, right?
Yeah.
And this is what it's all about. You feel better.
Feel better, and at the end of the day, whatever works, whatever helps, whatever moves things, whatever moves people forward, whatever lifts people up, I feel.
Yes.
I mean, it's time to leverage that kind of relational positivity. I don't know.
No, absolutely. I think so. It's time to everybody's looking towards something to keep them hopeful, to keep them, because, we really don't know what the other side of this is going to look like, if there will be another side. But I know that out of everything that I'm doing, I haven't stopped moving. And it's just been more of me using what I have to try and help others and help myself. And this is going to carry on. I think it's the opportune time. And people will say to you that, oh, COVID's been great for me. I haven't had to invite anybody over or whatever. There's that side of it. And then there's other people who actually also say that I have made so much money since COVID started because, it moves into this area of my expertise. And I can talk about both things. I'm a private person. I kind of like having my house locked up sometimes, but it's a serious thing still, right? And on the other hand, there's never been more need for people who are in the healing arts or people who work with the arts in a way that we know innately it's therapeutic anyway. So the work you do, Mary, and what you see in the city of Oshawa, the people that you associate with and connect with are all people who have the art spirit and know that it is, like I always say, it should be a core life skill to practice art, to observe it, to respond to it. That's really the bottom line. Yeah.
The part of our birthright as human beings, maybe?
Absolutely. Yes. That sounds good.
And you as a therapist, because this is an important piece too. I think sometimes, any creative experiences this, if you have people who appreciate your work or your process, sometimes it can seem like it's easy, like it's effortless, like it just happens. And people might look to you and say, but, how can I be more like you in all of this? Because they think there's some sort of that we have or something that we're doing that, like a secret remedy to something. What do you say to that? So just the human experience of being within the helping professions.
Yeah, my experience with it takes time to see the strengths that you have and know where they belong. Sometimes, and I have had experiences where people that I am working with have either had in the past a desire to be in the social services field or to help in some way, whether it's through the arts or not. And I recall when I was studying at the Create Institute for the 3 years and unsure of if I could really do this. I was the type in school that would run from drama class, did not want to look like a fool, was embarrassed, shy, whatever. And so I had to open up my ability to explore myself. And that was actually literally after a traumatic experience that I had suffered. And, you wanted this way to bring your power back, and the arts was the thing. So I wanted to expand on that. And, it was a really profound thing to know that you have a voice that can make a difference to many other people. But for the longest time, I had this duality that I was dealing with that was, like, I used to call it the dud and the oracle, right? And so there were times I felt like I was a total dud in this field. What do I know about psychotherapy and psychology? And, I know a little bit about art. And then that was the oracle side where I felt I was knowledgeable enough. I could impact people emotionally through the art. But at the end of the day, it didn't matter because you end up kind of juggling and playing with both of these things. And everybody's doing that now.
Yeah.
In the expressive arts, we refer to the client as the expert and the therapist as the companion. And so for me, I am a companion. If that means that you're riffing off what I do and we connect on that level, that's great. But, the biggest difference is like this qualitative, quantitative thing. The biggest difference is that I have to maintain a certain, not demeanor, but professionalism, I guess, and not flow too much into my client if it's a client, right? Not have that transference that can happen or counter transference. But I love when I do inspire young women, especially because they're very keen when they hear about what it is you do and then you apply it. You can take a very abstract thought and then tell them in a creative way, direct them creatively of how to make that thought or that thing. So I love when I encourage and inspire and mentor young people or anyone, young or old, to follow because it's rewarding, it's fulfilling.
And that piece about the inspiration and that it sounds like what's happening in that relationship and I love how you described it. It's a companion. It's walking alongside someone. It's not an expert. It's not there's no, I think ideally there's no hierarchies.
Absolutely. Right where you're, yes.
And that's a beautiful thing because when we're walking alongside one another, and that could be within like a professional, clinical, therapeutic relationship, but even I think as allies, as friends, as colleagues, there's something interesting that can happen where we begin informing one another through what we do. That inspiration is reciprocal. It doesn't just, it's not just one person offloading it onto the other.
That's right. Actually, you're right. See, I keep going to this clinical way, but it's just things shift and change, right? Yeah. When you are in community and you're around your peers, there's nothing, actually, that is a huge source of inspiration for many of us. Mm-hmm. Many of us. It's knowing that our peers are supportive of us or we can exchange ideas fluidly, Yeah. It just helps in everything. So yeah, I agree with that point. You have an eloquent way of putting things too.
Well, so do you. That's where this is coming from. It's but no, it wasn't me sort of downplaying the clinical thing. I feel like I've learned sometimes when I think about when I went to school to train to become a therapist, what I was really doing was learning about how to human more effectively and kind of learning about yeah. And there's a part of me that wishes, well, everyone should have that experience of understanding human psychology, how our brain, the relationship between our thoughts and our feelings and the choices we make, the actions. Yes. Like it shouldn't be some information that's only held by a few people out there in the world. And because it's an interesting thing, because one thing I learned throughout all of it is that there is no such thing as being perfect. There's no such thing as being entirely healthy or entirely like, there's no, like, it's not a binary all or nothing thing. You're not like broken or you're always in a state of flux and process and evolving or growing, right? And that's right. Like where the arts come back into it and that idea of wellness, because so much of what we do is process. So much of what we do is working with the in-between of things.
Yeah, right? What we call liminal space, just there. Yeah. Absolutely. You hit it on the head. This is really the magic of healing and of course the magic of art. It's taking that time to pause and stop and see and smell and observe and be aware and notice and witness. Can you think of another time that the vision of wellness hasn't been more prominent on the planet? It's like stating the obvious, but you're absolutely right. It's a necessary thing that we all need to pay attention to it, we really do.
I hadn't quite thought of it that way. What you just said, globally, it's something that everyone is focusing on in one way or another, some more than others.
Yes.
But that's an interesting thing that's in the consciousness, the collective consciousness right now, that idea of what does wellness look like?
What does it look like? If people aren't asking that question now, they're not taking what's happened seriously, or they're not actually connecting to the fact that this is history of like, it's brand new. When I say it's brand new, I don't think anyway, if someone else can correct me, that this has ever happened, that you might think, okay, I'm here, I'm going through all this pandemic paradigm that I'm in, and you're thinking about your cousin in Australia, but guess what? They're going through the exact same thing. And anywhere you think, wherever your mind goes, everyone is kind of collectively under the same, under the same guise, under the same cloud, so to speak. But that is a great question. What does wellness look like now?
Are we unintentionally giving everyone an art assignment out there?
We should. I think that's how you create more engagement, right? Leave it with, yeah, I'd love to hear. I mean, we've got Liberty Bell, we've got Donald J. King, we've got Brooke Victoria in 1997. Yeah. We got these people in here just peeping us and listening to this juicy stuff. Sorry, Mary, go ahead. Take it over.
We invite you, folks, show us what wellness looks like. Create something, share it with us, tag us. Yeah.
Absolutely. Can I, on that note, you always bring in things. I don't know what our time is like, but you always, here's one thing that you can do. Sometimes whatever you create out there around wellness and what it looks like to you, keep it around, because later on down the line, it might apply to something real that you're experiencing. So I wanted to share something else that I just grabbed. I do these collage, and you do some beautiful collage. And I did this one 2 years ago for QP reps. We were doing something on wellness, right? And the intention that was set was to how do you view yourself under stressful times? There's a little bit of what it looks like, right? Some things here. And this was the collage I made, and I realized I had written something on the back, how I view myself in stressful times and where I find balance and soothing. So maybe wellness looks so different now, but it would be wonderful for people to actually come up with their own version of what that might be.
Yeah.
Great way to
art extended to the community. Go for it, folks.
I'll add it in my posts. I think that's a great thing to ask. Good place to be. Yeah.
And is that the kind of for some folks out there who maybe never we've talked a lot in the past as well about just reaching out for support and the stigma around that sometimes, how difficult it can be to do that. That question the way we just asked and the question you asked in that workshop, is that the kind of thing someone might be working with if they went to see you as a therapist, as a support?
Oh, as a client of mine, yes. And kind of peripherally, I stated it before, I guess, these young Black women who are re-looking at their own health, their own well-being, their own mental state, and what has accumulated over the years. And now that they're young women, how does that manifest, and what is it doing for their own emotional, regulation? So, I think that for me and for the people that come to me, they are looking for greater ways to care for themselves. And it's mostly about self. It's not so much about family per se, but family always comes into it, or their past always comes into it in increments, right? But I would say that even if they know I'm working in another type of practice, like I'm using cognitive behavior therapy as well as dialectical behavior therapy, which is really the basis of which is mindfulness. People are not able to find peace in this time, at least those who are coming to me now. And I should just tell your audience that I've only been practicing since 2017, and only in a kind of a clinical, more controlled setting since February of this year. So yeah, so it does change what people come for, but yeah, the look or the lens of wellness now is different, because I believe the stigma has been softening in some communities. There are people who are only looking for therapists of color, or therapists who have some cultural competence, you know, in their work. And so it's stretching me, because there's still more of that dud that keeps creeping in. But the oracle is still there in the mix. But yeah, I draw on the things that I know I have naturally, which are my compassion, my kindness. I like to be authentic and open. And if you're caring and empathic with people, they feel that. And so that's what's been happening. Things are drawing closer to me being able to be the vehicle that helps some of these individuals and families, actually, for that matter.
It sounds like it's more than just coming closer. It sounds like you're doing it.
I'm totally doing it. I'm in it. Yes. Yeah, you are right. You are right.
And I love, so when you...
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Just when I love now, I made the connection when you talk about the dud. To me, that's, I guess, in living room language, we call that would be like the inner critic, one of those negative self-talk. And yeah.
Yes, absolutely. That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
I love that as artists, we have some personalities and characters, and we could probably paint them or perform them in some way or other.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of that distancing, right? You just take it outside of yourself, and you can turn it around and see all kinds of things you didn't see before.
Yeah.
You know?
And you put down to size. Yeah. You size a little bit. When you know what it looks like, oh, that's who you are? Oh, okay then.
Yeah. Ta-da. Yeah. Absolutely.
But I love that. I'm so happy to hear that the stigma is decreasing or softening, because I think knowing how to take care of yourself is, you know, such an important piece. I'm still learning it. I mean, we're learning it, really. I think that's the big unspoken thing, whether or not you are an expert in the field of, you know, psychology or whatever, it doesn't matter. I think we're all in the process of learning.
Yeah, it does not matter. Absolutely right. You spoke about even just finding a new way of looking at wellness, and right now it's everybody's own idea of what it is. Even though we're all trying to follow the same rules and regulations, you have to decipher what kind of works for you in the name of mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, many facets. You know?
Yeah. Now we have a few minutes left. It's like 1:45. Are you still good for time?
I'm still good for time, so long as my phone is still good.
Okay. Because if possible, the other thing you were mentioning in that last piece, particularly, it felt like it was talking about representation within the helping professions. And there is, especially within the creative art therapies in North America, there seems to be a lack of therapists of color, of people like who can represent and speak to the, like, with lived experience to what they might be experiencing. What kinds of shifts are you noticing there?
In terms of the professionals who are coming in and realizing, well, you know, in this smaller space that I'm in, just here out in Durham region, you know, but of course it's expansive because everyone's online. I am part of I guess I've been noticing it globally then, because again, there's a sharing that's going on. And I'll speak to just the creative arts therapies, where I have a connection to, and I think I told you about this person before, she's an art therapist in Jamaica. She's actually the only registered art therapist in Jamaica, to my knowledge right now. And she and I formed a friendship, and now we have developed a group of women of color who are in that field, the field of mental health, and we're all creative arts therapists. So some music therapists, some dance movement, and play therapists. And so there's a bunch of us. And it is so supportive because we are learning what it looks like in the Caribbean. Like, actually, not all of them are in the Caribbean. Some are in Chicago, but we all come from some island in the Caribbean, our history. And so it's been really supportive. And now we're actually thinking of creating some kind of document, some kind of resource that represents us, right? And put it out in the world. Like, it's just initial stages. But yeah, this is exciting because me being fairly fresh, I mean, I know the States has a ton of practitioners who are, experienced and so on, and they're doing what they're doing, but maybe there's a lack. But I think that's another plus that this pandemic has actually brought to people like you and I, is a way that we can pool our resources as creatives and make an impact. So that I've noticed that I'm reaching out internationally. Locally, like I said, I know locally it's all about local too. I mean, in terms of, because a lot of times I don't catch what immediately is floating in front of my face, and someone else might see it, right, and then alert me to it, which is what happened with you and something coming up with Durham College. And then, as I said, Facebook, maybe some of us discount Facebook and social media, but we have no choice now but to, get involved. And even there, the groups of therapists who are not only promoting mental health in the Black community, people I've known in my past who are researchers, they have their PhD. A gentleman, Peter Seeley, has written several books on migration and mental health. And he reached out to me during the pandemic, the beginning of the pandemic, and said, could you help me design a quick landing page? I want to create a resource that's run by volunteers who have a vested interest in mental health and who are willing to do a sort of a call-in for people in the Black community who need immediate help or someone to speak to.
Amazing.
So I love the name he came up with. It's called WeGotYourBlack.net. So yeah, WeGotYourBlack.net, and that is to help Black community members who don't have the funds and want someone to touch base with, and yeah. So there are things happening. Mm-hmm.
And for me, a large piece of this, and I could keep talking to you forever. Okay, but I'm not because Instagram's going to come up. And like a lot of this is also about storytelling. I was just, as you were talking, and I was thinking about being with a therapist, or being with, there's so many different ways we tell our stories, but it starts with our own story, doesn't it? It really does come back to that.
Yes. That is a necessary piece to add in. Yeah.
Because we can't tell our own stories or have some kind of understanding about what our story is and where we've come from. We can't expect ourselves to engage with other people's stories or in other people's stories effectively.
Absolutely. Again, that, Mary, what you're talking about, and things that you're talking about, which is a great tandem that we're doing, because you're bringing it in the practical, and I might abstract it a little bit, but yes, that whole idea of the story and your story and looking at other stories, and exactly what you said, you cannot necessarily tell your story or absorb other people's story unless you know yours or you can share yours. And that's, if I was to talk to someone about telling their story and they were struggling with getting it out, whether materially or verbally, I might talk about acceptance, and you do have to accept your story, whether it's ugly, dirty, beautiful, joyous. Accepting your story is the first step. Then you go through the telling of it, and that you might in present day, you know? So, yeah. This look of wonder on your face. Yeah, this look of...
Well, one of the reasons why I love these kind of experiences is I always, and whether like with guests, with community members, I love being reminded about why we matter, right? Oh, now your wheel is spinning a little bit. I wonder if it's spinning for other people. Oh, there you are. Hello.
It's like low battery. Just holding my phone. No worries. Yeah. So start again what you just said.
Well, just whenever I speak to people or connect with people this way, I'm reminded about why our stories matter and about why art matters. How, again, like the more we practice our art professionally, just for fun, whatever it might be, with a therapist, with a friend, with like a volunteer on that platform you were mentioning, we are learning more about ourselves and we are becoming ourselves. And that sense of distance that you were mentioning, that awareness, we can make new choices about the stories we tell about and how we move forward in our stories. So these conversations always leave me inspired. So that's it.
I know. It's so true. I mean, just, you know, when you get to a place where you like to speak on this level and it leads to other things and it leads to other things, I like seeing like all these creative ideas just coming your head. Like, I mean, just ideas, period, whether they're creative or not. You know, wheels turn when art get together. So it's kind of really hip.
Kind of accept their own inner artist. Imagine that. All the wheels would be turning and we could take turns. We wouldn't have to. Anyways, that's a conversation time.
You see? But no, absolutely. I agree with you. There is a place for this, what we're doing. There is a place for you to honor your own creativity. And even that word sometimes scares people. Just honor your artist within. Whether that sounds cliche or not, it exists. It's there. Sometimes it takes things like this for it to surface, right? For you to unearth it. But for me, it's helped me in tremendous ways. It continues to, you know, being a parent, being a woman of color, being an artist. Those are three things that take up a lot of your time, all your time. And so I use this as my way. Our exchange, as well as what I do with my hands and my voice and my body, I use it to help me pull through this time and others.
Amazing. So if folks want to connect with Create My Art Story, if they want to connect with you to learn more about how, like the services you offer, or perhaps other resources you might have available for them or know of in the community, how can they do that?
Well, first of all, just through the regular email, it's Create My Art Story G, that's G-E-E, Create My Art Story G-E-E at gmail.com. I am in the process of leveling up my digital marketing, and createmyartstory.com will be available soon. But otherwise, just jump on Facebook, look up groups, type in Create Art Story, join the group, answer the 3 questions. That's mandatory. And if you do that and follow what I say, which is email me at createmyartstoryg@gmail.com, you will get my free book, which kind of gives you an insight into my story. And the whole idea is to create your own art story, which we are doing in the moment right now, by the way. You will receive my free book and get to know a little bit more intimate things about me and how I managed to work my way up and out using the arts. So, Mary, I owe you one. I owe you a copy, actually. Yeah, I would love for you to actually read it. And I love feedback, everyone. So give Mary your feedback. Honor the living room. It's there for so many reasons. And I'm glad that I'm a part of this.
Well, we are so glad you're a part of our creative community. We can't imagine, we couldn't imagine without you. Thank you. No, I should let you go before your phone. You need to plug it. Thank you so much, Georgia. And we look forward to connecting with you again real soon.
Absolutely. I'll keep you posted. Be good. Keep living artfully. Bye.
Bye, Georgia.
Bye.
Hi. Oh, wow, guys. Thank you so much for watching, folks. That was a lovely conversation with an extraordinary human being. Again, if you're looking for new ways to explore your creativity, explore who you are and the kind of story you're telling about yourself, or perhaps even explore the story that other people have told about you, that, make some choices for yourself, shake off those things that don't belong to you anymore. I would always recommend connecting with someone like Georgia to see what you can do to move forward, to learn, to grow, to have more freedom, expressive freedom, but as well as, just that kind of personal freedom in your own life. Having someone to be there for you, to witness that, to be with you as you go through that process can be really powerful and important. Yeah, and I'm going to check in with Georgia again and get the names for those other resources as well, because you know what, in days like this, it is whatever works. And we advocate for ourselves and for one another, and hopefully lift one another up so that we can move forward as best we can during these strange and difficult times. And they are strange and they are difficult. So if you're feeling that weirdness, like everything should be fine and okay, you know what? Things are in flux. So that uneasiness you might be feeling right now is kind of normal, but you can learn how to work with that and manage that. And folks like Georgia are amazing for helping us do that. So thank you again for Georgia. Thank you. Who am I thanking for Georgia? Am I thanking the universe for Georgia? Maybe I am. Yes. I'm thanking the universe for Georgia. Thank you. Thanks for everyone else who joined us today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions for me, let me know. You can message us through the Living Room's Instagram or on our Facebook or at our email, info@livingroomcommunityartstudio.org. Longest email in the world. I know. I apologize for that. It is what it is. It just is what it is. And of course, we'll be back live streaming tomorrow, Wednesday, on Facebook as well, starting at 2 p.m. You can join us for an hour and a half of art making, connecting and chatting in the feed with community members as I create stuff on camera. And I always love seeing what you've created as well. So if you took us up on that offer, and if you're creating something about what wellness looks like to you, we'd love to see it. You can share it tomorrow in the live stream, or you can share it here on Instagram and tag the Living Room Art Studio and create my art story so we can see what you're doing and celebrate it and honor it. So thank you again for joining us. I hope everyone is doing okay, and I look forward to connecting with you again sometime soon. Well, tomorrow, in fact, online on Facebook. Much love to everyone. Have a wonderful day. Bye.